Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the St. Louis County Continuum of Care Lunch and Learn. While the CoC is focused on preventing and ending youth homelessness and homeless in general in the region, it offers these lunch and learns to the general public as an opportunity to share information, resources, and to get involved. My name is Karen Seavey, and I am a youth advocate with the St. Louis County Continuum of Care. Currently, I lead the Youth Homeless Task Force, which is comprised of schools, agencies, law enforcement representatives, and many other organizations and individuals who meet monthly and are working together to prevent and end housing insecurity among our young people. So today, in recognition of Mental Health Awareness Month, we have brought together a panel of professionals that combined have nearly 50 years of experience in children's mental health services, which are essential in supporting youth and families. Today, we want to welcome Emily Koenig, who's the acting director, executive director of the St. Louis County Children's Service Fund. We also have with us Marissa Ford. She's regional director of Runaway and Homeless Youth Programs East at Youth in Need. And we also have Mrs. Latasha Folks. She's executive director of St. Vincent's Home for Children. We thank you all for being here today and your willingness to share your expertise in these great community resources. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to you, Emily.
Great. Thanks so much, Karen. I'm so happy to be with you all here today during Mental Health Month. And if there's one thing I love to talk about, it's the really valuable resource that our community has through the St. Louis County Children's Service Fund. So we'll just kick it off. So if you're not familiar with the St. Louis County Children's Service Fund, we were established in 2008 via a voter initiative, approved initiative. So we collect every 1/4 of a penny spent on sales tax in St. Louis County, specifically for children's behavioral health and substance use treatment services. So what does this equate to? Nearly $42 million a year just for children's behavioral health and substance use treatment services. So our main function here at CSF is allocating those dollars to local nonprofits and governmental entities to provide these vital services for children and youth ages 0 to 19. So this was an initiative that was authorized by Missouri state law. And so there are some restrictions certainly in what we can and cannot fund through Missouri law. We are housed within St. Louis County government, and we are governed by a 9-member board. So ultimately, the authority of where these dollars are allocated really rests in the authority of the board. So we meet every Wednesday, every third Wednesday of the month. And these meetings are open to the public. So if you want to learn more, please visit our website for details regarding our board meetings. So we really have adopted the SAMHSA definition of behavioral health as the promotion of mental health, resilience and well-being, the treatment of mental health and substance use disorders, and the support of those who experience and or are in recovery from these conditions, along with the families and communities. So as I mentioned, CSF is mandated by statute to only fund in these 10 key areas. We fund a range of services from outpatient psychiatry to temporary and transitional living services, which I know this group has a lot of interest in around shelter and transitional living services. We don't have to fund in all of these areas, but again, looking at the holistic definition of mental health, we do. And we don't prioritize one service area over another. Services are provided on a continuum, and we recognize that all these pieces are essential for us to improve and support positive mental health for children and youth. Services are provided in the home, in the community, and in schools. We fund nearly 40% of our funding goes to support school-based services because we know this is a key access point for kids and youth. So these are provided throughout all school districts within St. Louis County. So we currently fund 65 nonprofit agencies, 2 governmental entities in there, our sister organization, the Department of Human Services, as well as a program within the Department of Public Health, and 115 programs within these 65 agencies. We know that housing is fundamentally key to people's mental health. People with housing problems are at greater risk for mental health problems, and good quality, affordable, and safe housing is a vital component to this. We also know that transitional living services are a temporary safety net and provide strong emotional support systems for young people, provided in many different settings, from supervised apartments to some of our maternity homes that we fund here through Children's Service Fund. Services that are not eligible. So there are a couple, as I mentioned in Missouri state law, they highlighted a couple of services that we are not able to fund. So that includes inpatient, psychiatric or chemical dependency services, and transportation services. We know that transportation is a huge barrier to providing services, but unfortunately, that's not something that CSF can fund per Missouri state law, and that includes things like bus passes. So like all of you, we had to be flexible and agile during the pandemic. Certainly, we jumped into action back in early 2020. We received our feedback from agencies that they really couldn't pivot without these resources. And our board had 2 goals in implementing our 2020 COVID-19 response. And that was to ensure our funded partners could still continue to provide the needed services to children and youth safely and effectively. And the second goal was to ensure that we had a strong and stable nonprofit community to be able to provide those services. So the board sprung into action and implemented $250,000 initially in emergency funding grants. So let's go back to slide 1 or slide 2, where I said that we're funded solely by sales tax revenue. So the board was really cautious and conservative in those emergency funds, not knowing what the impact of the pandemic would be on our sales tax revenue. Luckily, not a huge impact, $2 million down in 2020. And so we didn't see a large impact to the sales tax revenue. So we're able to continue to provide services and more services. Secondly, telehealth. Obviously, our agencies were providing services in person and in schools. So they had to quickly pivot to implement telehealth for their clients. And so some of those emergency grants I talked about were for things like subscription services to telehealth platforms, laptops, computers, those types of things to help facilitate sessions with clients. In that emergency grant, we also provided some vital funding for shelters to be able to operate safely, so PPE and other cleaning supplies. So those were kind of some of the things that we provided in the emergency grants. And then I talked a little bit about really supporting our strong, stable nonprofit community. So we knew utilization of resources would go down, that some kids and youth would not be able to be connected. And so we provided a revenue in an alternative method that allowed our agencies to use their existing allocated funds in a different way. What else did we do last year? We really helped with the 2020 COVID-19 response at the county level. So we played a critical and central role in designing and implementing the CARES humanitarian response. Along with our CSF leadership, myself participated along with Andrea Jackson Jennings, the director of the Department of Human Services. So we worked collaboratively across the county to roll out almost $30 million in funding for things like housing and utility assistance, childcare relief, domestic violence and prevention programs, and the Digital Equity Initiative that placed hotspots and laptops in the hands of children throughout St. Louis County so that they could be successful in school, as well as still continue to receive the services that they needed. So what are our 2021 priorities? If that wasn't enough, we rolled out a second round of emergency funding. We learned from our key partners across our funded partners, as well as advocacy organizations and groups such as yourself, where we looked at where the gaps and opportunities are as it relates to the pandemic. And we know that anxiety and depression is increasing, that teachers are burnt out, that families are struggling with mental health. And so our board authorized another $1 million in funding for our COVID-19 response. Secondly, we, which I think is really exciting, we have been working on an initiative to reach out to the community and learn where there may be organizations who we aren't aware of, but may be providing really vital services and opportunities for children and youth in the county, prevention programming, other types of programming. And so we have launched our grassroots initiative. Our strategic plan that the board approved in 2019 really calls us to ground our work in equity. And we know that the long-standing systematic disparities have disproportionately impacted African Americans, immigrant, and other minority communities. And the pandemic has underscored and further exacerbated these challenges. In addition, we've seen racial tension in our region, and this has an impact on child well-being, increasing stress and anxiety, that toxic stress that we hear so much about, living with those conditions. So our grassroots empowerment program will lift up community identified priorities and needs. We want to strengthen the capacity of community-based organizations. So our board is investing $1 million in this. So we're looking to resource locally led agencies and be able to look at some new programming, some innovative and emerging programming in our community to better meet the needs of our children and families. We also have extended our current contracts. We know that our agencies haven't always been able to provide the volume of services that they need to, and it will allow them to continue to provide services that with the resources that they were allocated in 2021. And we know that when they wrote those grants in 2019, things have shifted considerably. So we've asked our agencies to think creatively about what they wrote in 2019 in their grant proposal and how they can pivot possibly to meet the ever-growing need in our community as it relates to the pandemic. So, and finally, I think something I'm really, really excited about is our partnership with the St. Louis County Library. This will embed social workers in 5 libraries across St. Louis County, 4 in North County and 1 in South County. And they'll be able to provide those vital case management services for individuals and families who are coming in looking to be connected to resources. So this is really exciting. Stay tuned for more details. We haven't secured the organization who will provide those services, but we're hoping to roll that out this fall. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm excited to hear from our partners that we fund through St. Louis County Children's Service Fund next.
So thank you so much, Emily. Such great information. You all are doing such innovative work and really making such a difference in our community in partnership with our agencies. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Marissa Ford. She's Regional Director of Runaway and Homeless Youth Services for Youth in Need.
Can everyone see my screen? All right. So thank you, Karen, and thank you, Emily, for allowing us to be here to talk about the services that we provide at Youth in Need, and also just supporting Children Mental Health Month, because I feel like everything that we do at Youth in Need, mental health is definitely intertwined with all of our services, and the importance of just serving youth, children, youth, and families is such a vital point at what we do, and the impact that mental health has really influences a lot of the services that we provide. And without the Children's Service Fund, we wouldn't be able to provide the services that we do. So I am going to talk a little bit about Youth in Need services, and I will be, mentioning how just mental health in general affects a lot of the youth that we serve and just intertwining with our programming. So I just want to make sure for those who are not familiar with Youth in Need and just our service area, we do have services that we provide services all the way from St. Louis City throughout Montgomery County. So we have services in St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Charles, Wentzville, and as far west as Montgomery County. So whether that's our runaway homeless youth programs, our counseling programs, we're also in school districts. We also have Head Start programs throughout the St. Louis region. So there's a lot of different areas that we cover to provide services for children, youth, and families. I wanted to talk about, talking about our runaway homeless youth programs. We have residential programs and community intervention programs. So as far as our residential programs, we have emergency shelter, transitional living programs, for apartments is also under that umbrella. And we have community intervention programs, which include Safe Place, Youth Connection Helpline, street outreach, rapid housing, and coordinated entry. I want to talk a little bit about each program briefly. This is a picture of our emergency shelter that's located in St. Charles, Missouri, that houses up to 12 youth and going through various situations and challenges. So youth in our emergency shelter are there, could be for several reasons. It could be that they're in foster care waiting for permanent housing. They could be experiencing homelessness, or they could be maybe dealing with a family crisis or a mental health crisis that's causing them to need to come to the shelter and provide support and receive support from our staff. So we provide education, case management, service linkage. It's 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week service. We also provide mental health services as far as counseling, even the service linkage as far as even when they leave our shelter, that we are continue to follow up and make sure they're linked to community supports and us, Youth in Need, as a support. So it's really important that we try to intervene early. So our emergency shelter does really support family situations. So, we do have youth in our shelters that are homeless and are going through homeless situations, or like I say, are in foster care, children's division custody, and things like that. We also do have youth who come to our shelter that are experiencing some type of family crisis or maybe even mental health crisis. And we really try to intervene in those situations to try to provide that family support, because as we see, a lot of those youth who at younger ages are experiencing a lot of mental health concerns typically have a correlation with becoming homeless later on. So if we try to intervene early on, have them come to our shelter, get support, be able to provide some counseling services, get them connected in the community, whether it's through other service providers that can provide other emergency mental health services. And then when they return back home, hopefully they have more support and able to be more self-sufficient and navigate through those crises on a daily basis. We also have a supported apartments program and transitional living program. And similar to our emergency shelter, we typically work with youth who are experiencing homelessness or in some type of crisis. So all of our services are really there to prevent or intervene during a crisis. So that, like I said, could be homelessness, that could be abuse, neglect, mental health, trafficking, all types of services that youth are able to get help, whether it's short-term or longer term, to help them be successful. So our transitional living program is a longer term housing program that provides youth that support, really try to get them at those independent skills, working towards educational and employment goals. As far as our transitional living program is located in St. Charles, our supported apartments program is located in St. Louis County. So different settings, different type of setup as far as a house setup or apartment setup, but still the main goal is really that self-sufficiency, that financial support, really so that when those young people are transitioning out of our program, our goal is really to make sure that they have that long-term connection, that adult connection. We understand how important it is for youth to have connections with an adult that is able to support them, help guide them through things. They get counseling services, and all of our programs are able to also have a case manager to help them through situations and navigate independent living skills and things like that as well. As far as our community intervention, our street outreach program is really offering that 24-hour response support to youth, really first responders, to any type of crisis intervention that are happening with young people. So our street outreach team usually sees our youth in some of the worst situations or in their lowest positions. We help support families, youth, and children that are in need of services, that are in need of support, and really try to make sure that they have their basic needs met, and then going on into some other larger needs as far as the mental health services, and but making sure that they at least have somewhere to sleep at night, some clothing, shoes, food, those things, and then going into some of those longer term options. But they intervene early to try to make sure that they are providing that support. Like I said, it is a 24-hour service. If you're familiar with the Safe Place program, our street outreach team, like I just mentioned, are the first responders to those calls. So I do really appreciate our partners that are safe places, like Quick Trips, the fire station, as you see in this picture, because that Safe Place program really works with the community, and it's really exists because of community and because of people like the Children's Service Fund that are able to fund that program. Mental Health Board have different helplines, BHR, for Youth Action Helpline. We have so many different support for youth through that helpline, that the 24-hour response that any children, youth, and families can call, service providers can call if they need support with the youth to really help them find and guide them through services. So if there's an immediate response, that street outreach team responds and helps the youth find stability, whether that's taking them to a shelter that night or helping them through the situation, mediating with the parent or family to really provide that long-term support that they're needing in that moment and the immediate crisis response. They can call, chat, or text to get access to the Youth Action Helpline. And speaking of Safe Place, there are 958 Safe Place locations. So all the Quick Trips, Walgreens, like I said, some fire stations, St. Louis County libraries. So anywhere you see that black and yellow sign, Metro is also a part of the Safe Place program. Youth are able to access help. So for those of you who are not familiar with the program, you'll probably start seeing the sign all the time now that I am showing it to you. But if you haven't paid attention, a lot of times they're on the poles outside of businesses, or there might be a little sticker on the door going into like Quick Trip or something, for instance. But those are a 24-hour response. So if your youth is in crisis, they can access those services 24 hours a day. They walk into those locations, the staff are trained, and they will get a response within 30 minutes from our team, because Youth in Need is a regional provider for the Safe Place program in the St. Louis region. So, and of course, at that point, they'll assess what the needs is of that youth and really help them and guide them into their next location or the next permanency. So this is a picture of our family counseling building that's in St. Charles. Our counseling services assist children, youth, and families experiencing conflict or crisis. And we have community-based services and school-based services. We are in St. Louis County school districts and St. Charles school districts, Lincoln County school districts. So we are making sure that we have accessibility, like I said, through any type of services that is needed. So whether it's during schools or community-based, children and families are able to get that support from our counseling services. We also have a teen parent program that also provides counseling for the teen parents, and also case management services and helping them with their children and well baby visits and things like that, to make sure that things with the parent and the child are going well, and offering that support for them as well. Within the last year, we have served 5,066 youth receiving counseling service in the community and school-based setting. And like I said, this is important because a lot of times youth don't, I think it should be really applauded to any youth that's able to receive counseling services and recognize that there's a need for that. Because I feel like it is such a brave thing for you to recognize, like, I need to talk to someone, I want to talk to someone. So I feel like that's the beauty of mental health services and Mental Health Awareness Month, to making it more normalized that talking to someone and trying to figure out services if you are in a crisis, having that adult to talk to and navigate the situation, and supporting parents and families as well, to be able to navigate crisis and things that are going on, because a lot of our youth have experienced a lot of trauma. And with trauma, mental health affects all aspects of your life, how you respond to things, how you feel, how you think, how you act. So without having the tools to navigate those situations, a lot of times our youth are left sometimes responding very negatively, or things that can cause other influences to happen, that causes the reason why we need all other programs that we do have at Youth in Need. So it is really important that they're able to have that support for mental health. We also do have counseling programs and foster care programs that help youth who are in foster care and adoption services throughout the St. Louis region that we partner with. There's something popping up on my screen. I don't know what it means. Okay. And then we also have early learning programs that, like I said, are located throughout St. Louis City, all the way into Montgomery County, that help the little ones. And in the early learning programs, we have center-based and home-based programs offered for our young people and parents and families, so that they're able to get the needs met that they're looking for school-based options, like I said, located in St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Charles, Lincoln, Warren, and Montgomery counties. Definitely feel free to go to youthinneed.com and look more into our services and also how you can access our services. But like I said, I just want to make sure that I do, like I said, shout out to St. Louis County for having us, and also the Children's Service Fund, because like I said, without their support, a lot of the programs I just mentioned, we would not be able to provide the services that we do each and every day. CSF provides core support for youth in need in our mental health counseling programs, which is free and highly accessible through schools and community-based settings, and through telehealth also at this point. So like I said, that is very necessary for our community of young people.
Thank you very much, Barissa, for the great overview on the services that you all offer at Youth in Need. We appreciate the work that you do, you and your colleagues. You've been doing that for more than 46 years, which is great. And as Emily referenced earlier, the continuum of services that are offered, I think, are very important. And the other thing that I know too about Youth in Need is that the agency does a really good job of meeting people where they are and making services accessible to young people and their families. And so I'd like to introduce you to Latasha Folks, who is the Executive Director for St. Vincent's Home for Children. Latasha?
Yes, thank you so much. I think first one, I'm going really forward in my slides and didn't mean to. But first, I just want to give kudos to Children's Services Fund and all the other organizations that exist in the St. Louis region that's giving, attention to this very important topic, who's really focusing on housing and mental health services and so many other things that are needed for our youth in the community. So I've been with St. Vincent for a little bit over around a year now, but the organization has been in existence for over 170 years and has really gone through what I would say a transformation stage over that period of time. We were founded as an orphanage and have really transformed our organization to what we hope to be a demonstration of an agency that's agile, that has partnerships and really has this coordinated effort to meet the needs of the community. I'd say that Children's Services Fund has really been instrumental in our opportunities and ability to transform our organization over a period of time. So I want to start by telling you some of the programs that we offer, talk about our partnership with Children's Services Fund while making sure that we highlight that the core of our programs are centered around trauma-informed care and mental health services. So one of our newest programs that we have is really our community outreach program. So we have now an outreach coordinator and a team of a case manager and a therapist who really drive around St. Louis City and St. Louis County, to make sure that we are connecting with individuals where they are. And while our primary focus is on youth, I think the most important part of that program is that we're really looking to connect with just our community. And really, we call everyone our neighbors. This is a great opportunity for us to just have conversation. And we may meet parents, we may meet grandparents, aunt, uncles, or just a concerned citizen who wants to talk to us about our services and help us kind of spread the words of opportunities that exist within our community. So starting on June 1st of this year, we will also be opening our drop-in center, which is another program for us that is new. While we think that there's a good opportunity for us, especially since COVID, one of the things we learned is that it's really time for us to get out into the community, come out of the building, make sure that we're showing some presence and meeting people where they are. But the drop-in center allows us an opportunity to have this consistent time and place and open door for our community to come to us. And so out of that program, we will have this culinary hospitality program that's going to really be about job skill development, teaching youth about what it is to, if you want to become a chef or anything to do with working in the kitchen and cooking and hospitality, you'll have that opportunity to get that there. There's also case management services, mental health services, art therapy. We have a pottery room and clay studio. So tons of exciting things to do while you're at our facility with a gym and fitness center, music studio, access to computers and washers and dryers. Really just a point of reference for any youth to come in from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And access some services that they may need. This program really serves as a gateway or a path into other services that we offer that you'll hear about today. But also, if we can't meet your need, it's a great opportunity to connect you with other programs that we know exist, such as the ones that Marissa just highlighted through Youth in Need and other organizations that we partner with. One of our other programs is our Youth Emergency Shelter Program. It typically serves youth ages 8 to 9. This is a program where families can self-refer, where we may partner with Children's Division, where someone from the community may call and say that there's a need, or other organizations may give us a call and say that there's a youth that's in crisis and needs a temporary place to stay. That stay is typically between 21 to 30 days, and the initial point of access into our program starts with a mental health assessment and a needs assessment. It's really about us starting to develop a plan from day one when they enter into our program. And that plan can include a lot of different services, from counseling to case management. We have a wonderful partnership with IFM to provide medical services. And most important is we're here to meet basic needs. A place to stay, food to eat, clothes, hygiene, personal care products, all of those things that someone may need if they're coming from homelessness or just have had a really difficult night. We want to provide that service and care. There's also follow-up services. The point of emergency shelter is not only to help with a crisis situation, but this is really our opportunity to try to reunify families. When possible, to get kids back out of our facility, which we love to have kids come and stay with us, but really we want to make sure that we're doing things that strengthen the family. And so while we may be working with the child here in the building, we're also working with their parents, their family members, whatever that family unit may look like. We want to make sure that we're extending our services outside of our facility. Another one of our programs that we offer is our transitional living program. This is ages 16 to 19. And really, again, some of our youth were able to transition back into a home environment. But, some of the difficult conversations we have is that there may be youth we're really just preparing for independence. And as Marissa said, this program is projected to have a longer length of stay. This too comes with an assessment and gives us a longer period of time to work with the older youth to develop job skills, for them to complete their education, to tend to any health or mental health needs, to work on budgeting, case management, or any other counseling services that they may need. This is somewhat of a program that we're continuing to expand. So you'll be hearing more from us. Right now we are working on preparing another 2 apartments, one that will be able to hold 3 more youth, and then one that will hold 2. That's under construction right now. And then there is our community-based programs, our school and home programs, where we are out in the community in the schools, going to the homes, providing counseling and case management. And these services are offered to youth ages 7 to 19 years of age, really focus again on strengthening the family. So positive parenting skills, family integration, and really a prevention services, right? To stop kids from going into the residential care or anything that could disrupt the family for longer periods of time. I think, you know, this program for me is another one of our critical programs that we provide to the community. When we think about serving youth, I think about so many things, but one of them is that the challenge that youth may have with being able to access services on their own. There are some things that are really out of their control. Their, you know, ability to drive, ability to get to certain locations. You know, where can they ask for help? Who should they ask for help? Well, the community-based programs really create this infrastructure that take us to where they are and make us available so that they can come to us, and there's something that demonstrates that there's some assistance needed, or there's an opportunity to request assistance that's needed. And I think that that's, you know, one of the things that's really critical about us coming outside of the building and offering these services to our youth. You know, so I say if you have any, we're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If I go back to the first slide, you'll see our phone number. Where you can access us during business hours or after business hours. If you see a youth that's in need of a service, just give us a call and we can usually do an admission at any point during the night. I wanted to take some time during this conversation to also just really highlight not only our partnerships with other organizations, but our partnership with Children's Services Fund. I think one of the things that I'm hearing consistently, even in Emily's conversation, is this word about being agile. And I think CSF has really been a great partner. They're not just a funder, they're thought partners. They help us assess the needs that exist within the organization. They're advocates. And I think that they are a great representation of who we want to continue to be as an organization, which makes that partnership amazing. In the past year, most organizations like St. Vincent have been impacted by COVID-19, and we really have had to come to the table and have some tough conversations and really rethink the way that we have provided services. And I think that CSF has been one of those funders that really allowed us to come to the table with them to not only hear what the community was saying, but hear what we were saying as providers. And out of that came these unique opportunities for us to, one, rethink some of the programs that we have in place, to put some infrastructure in place. We were the recipients of some of the technology-based grants that allowed us to have laptops to go out into the community, that allowed us to offer internet service to families so that they can access counseling services. It was really a pathway for us to eliminate some of the barriers that existed because of the pandemic. And not only did we get to do that during this time, but I think it really opened the door for a conversation for us moving forward on how to address some of the barriers that may still exist even beyond the pandemic, right? It's while CSF can't fund transportation, there is still opportunity for us to figure out ways to get these services provided in the home and in the community without having to have them drive to us, but maybe us go to them, or using technology as a way to be able to do that. And I think that Children's Services Fund has just been key in us being able to have those conversations, being able to think about ways to do it and ways to shift around our resources so that we can consistently meet the needs of the community, and making sure that, you know, kids have a consistent pathway into accessing services. So.
Well, Latasha and Marissa, I mean, honestly, it is so easy for us when we have amazing partners. And I do want to give a shout out to our amazing team here at CSF and our board of directors, and just the openness and, the willingness to work with us at CSF and share. And so the whole community has come together in the last year. I've seen it, firsthand, and our partners certainly are a piece of that. You all have just really stepped up to the plate, and through your care and compassion and diligent hard work. I mean, it's been amazing to see the work that's been done over the last year. So.
Thank you so much, Latasha and Emily and Barissa. For our viewers and those tuning in maybe at a later date, I hope you can see the common themes of collaboration, the beauty in partnerships, the passion that our service providers have for meeting people where they are, children and families. Making services accessible. I think it's so difficult. Being Mental Health Month, I think it's, it underscores the mental health stigma and how difficult it can be for kids and their parents to reach out and ask for help. And so we're very fortunate in the St. Louis region to have the Children's Service Fund to offer these types of services to our community. It's a comprehensive, coordinated, collaborative response, and services are offered on a continuum. So we thank you all for participating today. And I want to open it up if anyone has any comments before we close today.
Just thank you. Thank you for having us, and thank you to our partners.
And Emily, you said you have 65 agencies that you fund?
Yeah, 65 agencies, 115 programs. We have a listing on our website with just a little blurb about each funded program and how they could be connected to those resources. But again, we also really try to connect folks to the St. Louis County Youth, just the Youth Connection Helpline through BHR as a great resource to get connected. So you can visit keepingkidsfirst.org for more information about the programs that we fund.
Thank you. And BHR, actually, Holly Nemec for BHR was on our first Mental Health Month Lunch and Learn, and she shared some information on the helpline. So I also think, Deb, isn't there a fact sheet or some resources that are going to be shared, also made available on the Facebook Live?
Absolutely. I'm about to put them out there.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, everyone.
I'm sorry, Karen. We put together a fact sheet about the transitional living and shelter programs that we do fund. So for this group, but if there's other services that folks are seeking, certainly visit one of the many resources.
One thing that came up too is criteria for qualifying for services. Is there criteria?
So I think each individual agency sets their, criteria maybe more. So our criteria is the child has to be a St. Louis County resident, ages 0 to 19, up to the 20th birthday. And I think, agencies will probably have other criteria that they set within their organization.
And with CSF also, there is no income qualification, correct?
No, there's no income qualification. We don't limit service, the number of services that a provider can provide, with the exception of temporary shelter is up to 30 days. That's the only, criteria around limitation of services. And that's, again, in state statute.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Karen,
you.
I would just add to that, that if you are seeking services and there's a question about whether or not you qualify, just call.
Yeah.
And if we're unable to serve you, then we're happy to do a warm handoff and get you connected to another one of the partner organizations in the community. We want you to call. That way we can help you land in the right place. There's so many opportunities in the county. There's other funders that allow us to offer services, beyond the St. Louis County area. We serve the city, we serve a lot of areas throughout the state. So just call and we'll be happy to have that conversation with you, assess what your needs are and see what the best fit is for you.
Yeah, I will. Go ahead, Karen.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I will say through our funding, many of the services provided through our organizations are free or low cost. There's no, income limits or health insurance status. And so it's a really valuable resource for our community.
Thank you. And one thing I wanted to underscore too is that crisis looks different for everyone. And so there is no one size fits all approach. And so again, our agencies meet people where they are and build on strengths and go out in the community and really bring services and make them accessible to folks, because, we want people to be successful in their education, in their work lives. And so thank you again all for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.